Trifecta by Dean Pearl. Chapter 17. It was early Friday afternoon when Ben called Wesley to tell her he was being held up at work and he would just drive himself to the gig, but he still intended to spend a night with her. Wesley was slightly disappointed, but just said, "Well, I'm glad you can still make it and still spend the night. I'm really looking forward to that hotel sex we discussed." She was smiling through the phone. "Actually, Ben told her, I have a little proposition I'd like to talk to you three about. I think you might find it interesting." "Can I have a clue?" Wesley begged. "No," he replied quickly. "I still have some T's to cross and some I's to dot before I go public." Wesley was very curious, but decided she can wait. She called Max to tell him Ben wouldn't be driving up with them, and he told her he was coming by to get them right after he had some lunch, and that way they can have plenty of time to set up. As the three of them loaded up their gear into Wesley's new van and got in for the ride to Pahrump, Leslie asked why Ben couldn't make it. "I don't know, really," Wesley confessed. "He just said it was work. You know how men are. But he did say he had something he wanted to discuss with us." "Us or you?" Wesley asked. "Apparently us," Wesley replied. "Maybe he wants us to work for him as a new superhero unit to catch some deplorables that he can't legally go after." Max sounded excited at the prospect while having no idea how close to the truth he really was. "Yeah, wouldn't that be something?" Leslie added. After arriving in Pahrump, they set up all their gear, sound-checked, and then went to the front desk for 2 rooms. They only had to pay for one, as Max had already negotiated a free room to be included in their contract, as well as dinner for the 3 of them. They unpacked a few overnight things they brought, then decided to just order some room service up instead of going into the restaurant. They knew some of their former students might be there, and they wanted to avoid talking about why they closed the dojo. They were attempting to be discreet about their newfound millionaire status. They started playing, but Ben hadn't arrived yet. The gig was going great. The house was full and people were dancing and having a great time. It was about halfway through the first set when Ben came strolling into the lounge with a big smile on his face as he listened to the band pumping out one of his favorite classic rock songs by Billy Joel. He took a seat at the end of the bar just as a couple was leaving to go eat. He asked the bartender for a shot of Jack Daniels and a Budweiser. As he sat enjoying the band, another guy grabbed the stool next to Ben, and it was immediately obvious that the man had had too much to drink. He was just shouting random crap at the band, but no one was paying him any attention except for Ben. He was becoming completely annoyed with the drunk stranger's rantings and finally spoke up after the man yelled something about the keyboard player looking like a hot slut. Ben tapped the drunk on the shoulder and said, "Is that really necessary? I'm trying to enjoy the entertainment, and you're making it very difficult." The drunk stopped yelling and faced Ben as he stood up. "And what the fuck are you going to do about it, little man?" The drunk, who appeared a good half-foot taller than Ben, sneered. Without warning, the drunk swung a backhand across Ben's face, causing his nose to immediately start bleeding. Wesley was watching the whole situation happen as she was playing, but as soon as the drunk man swung on Ben, she stopped playing and started moving towards the bar. Just as she was about to leave the stage, Max caught her by the arm and said, "Don't help him, Wesley." Max had already put his guitar down and hit the play button on the dance music they used for breaks. "If he needs me, let me do it. If you do it, it will be emasculating for him, especially in front of all those people," Max assured her as he himself moved towards the situation. Ben had felt the drunk hit him on the nose, then stepped back a couple of feet as he was waiting for Ben to confront him. The drunk was self-assured that he could take Ben, who was about 4 or 5 inches shorter than him, and he was about 40 pounds heavier than Ben. Ben touched his nose and felt his own blood coming from it. In one moment, without even getting up yet, Ben raised his right foot directly into the man's crotch, putting him on the floor in a second, just as Max was coming up with the girls right behind him. The man fell to the floor, clutching his groin as he moaned loudly in pain. Then he was about to try and get up, but Max was right there and took his own foot to press the man's chest back to the floor. "Don't do it," Max warned. "You'll be sorry." Suddenly, security was on the scene to take the drunk out and 86 him from the property. Max asked Ben just as Wesley and Leslie came up, "Are you okay?" Wesley came up and hugged him. "Oh, my poor baby. Did he hurt you, Ben? I will kill that son of a bitch." Max tapped Wesley on the shoulder and gave her a look that said, "Easy, girl," and she stopped being a tough chick and became the loving girlfriend chick. "I'm fine," Ben assured everyone. "I just hope that kick stopped him from ever breeding," causing everyone around him to laugh as the bartender offered to buy him a drink and the regular crowd realized that he was with the band. The bartender offered Wesley some napkins for Ben's nose, and she affectionately wiped away the blood and folded a napkin into a compress to hold against his nose to stop the bleeding. "Good job taking that asshole down," the female bartender told Ben as Wesley was holding on the compress to his nose. "I was just about to call security on him when you confronted him." "You confronted him first?" Wesley asked, surprised. "Well, yeah," Ben replied. "He made a snide remark about the keyboard player looking like a slut, and I wasn't about to sit there and listen to him demean my girl." Wesley's heart just melted when she heard her boyfriend say he was just trying to defend his girl. She was the one used to doing any defending, and she actually started to tear up, just a little. "We need to go finish our set," Wesley told Ben. "Will you be okay here then?" "Of course, baby," Ben assured her. "Believe it or not, I'm actually pretty good at taking care of myself when I have to." Ben went up and finished their set, but Wesley couldn't take her eyes off Ben. The warmth she was feeling in her heart was evident in her gaze that never seemed to leave Ben, and the regulars in the crowd started to take notice. Of course, most of the men in the audience were jealous that he was the object of Wesley's desire and not them, while some of the women were jealous that Wesley had already won the heart of a man that they themselves would jump on in a New York minute given half a chance. Now that the crowd of men who were split in half as being Wesley lovers or Leslie lovers realized that Wesley was spoken for, Max noticed that the usual interest in Leslie suddenly became more intense as they all strutted and tried to show off to get Leslie's attention, never having a single clue that her heart too was already spoken for, as she was secretly, madly in love with her own half-brother Max. Max, meanwhile, was his usual oblivious self, just playing and singing his heart out, not paying any attention to the huge amount of women who would give anything to spend a night alone with him, since they knew the girls were his sisters. Of course, what they didn't know is that Max was also falling deeply in love with his half-sister. Regardless of what society says is right or wrong, he was just following his heart, and his heart told him that Leslie was the perfect mate for him in just about every way he could think of. Everything, that is, except the part about him actually being blood related to her. The rest of the night went off predictably, with Wesley swooning over her new boyfriend as Max and Leslie once again shared their forbidden love with one another. Max and Leslie could sometimes hear the sounds of love coming through the wall of the room their sister occupied next door. At one point, Wesley thought she heard some pretty sexy sounds coming from her sister in Max's room, but she just chalked it off to the TV being turned up too loud.